I promised you that I would make a video ranking all of Hersheypark's roller coasters, and I am not going to break that promise. This list will include all of Hersheypark's coasters with the exception of Trailblazer because it was closed on my visit. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Number 14 is going to have to go to Coco Cruiser. I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's a simple Zamperla gravity coaster, not much more to say about it. Even though it closed a couple days ago, I still feel like I should briefly talk about Wildcat because I got to ride it. This is one of my least favorite wooden coasters. It's rough, boring, has the perfect structure for an RMC, and now that it's gone, I don't think very many people will be missing it, so sorry Wildcat. Number 12 is Wild Mouse. This clone model is very skippable. This is a small park model, so it doesn't have the big drop off the lift hill that many others have, so the best part of those wild mice is missing here. It's just a series of uncomfortable turns and shallow drops. I also made the mistake of riding this by myself, and some of those turns nearly toppled me over, so try to avoid doing that. The 11th best coaster at Hersheypark is the Lightning side of Lightning Racer. This is such a colossal waste of space. All throughout its long layout, it fails to do anything exciting. It pulls no forces. It also has some really bad potholes, which make it much less enjoyable than if it were a glass smooth ride. This ride would honestly be on par with Wildcat if it didn't have the racing element to show off. I would honestly much rather have a ride on Racer at Kings Island for its decent airtime. My number 10 is the Thunder side of Lightning Racer. Basically, everything I said for number 11 applies here as well. I just thought the Thunder side had slightly better forces. My number 9 is Super Duper Looper. This is the first of 4 coasters in the hollow section of the park. Comet, Sky Rush, Great Bear, and Super Duper Looper. The way that all these rides intertwine is really cool, and on Super Duper Looper specifically, you come really close to some of Great Bear's track. As for the layout itself, it does spend a lot of its time meandering, but that can be forgiven because it's technically a family coaster. Having said that, the loop after the first drop is more intense than any element on Banshee. Just saying. So, it's a solid family coaster. Number 8 is the new for 2022 Jolly Rancher Remix. This ride does have the new trains with the vest restraints, but that doesn't do very much to save the ride. Remix is smooth, but the nature of the ride makes it very uncomfortable, especially the backwards cobra roll. The theming is pretty impressive though. The music adds a lot to the ride, the bright colors add a lot to the skyline, and the flavor tunnel is a nice head chopper. As for the flavors themselves, on my one ride I got cherry, and, well, it was pretty dreadful in all honesty. It smelled like cough medicine and it was very powdery for some reason, but I'll give Hersheypark an A for effort on that one. At number 7, I have Comet. Now, I think I may have set my expectations a bit too high. I heard that this is a world-class airtime machine, or even that it has the best airtime in the park. And I would say this about other Buzzbar Woodies, like Cornball Express at Indiana Beach or Phoenix at Knoebels, but not Comet. I may be lifted out of my seat a couple times, and it wasn't even close to being world-class ejector. I've been pretty negative about this, but you know, it's a long and smooth ride, so I'd say it's a middle-of-the-road ride at Hersheypark. Fahrenheit is taking the number 6 slot. Why do I sound like X-Screen Thrills? Anyway, a lot of people say that this ride is like a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster, an Intamin Blitz, and a B&M Looper all had a baby, and I would agree with that. The drop is reminiscent of a Gerstlauer, it has great pacing like an Intamin Blitz, and it's forceless. Yes, I said it. It has some good airtime moments like the first drop and ejector airtime hill, but as a looping coaster, it's really supposed to have good positive Gs, and this just isn't it. Don't get me wrong, this is still a fun, whippy, and smooth ride, but it's nowhere near one of my favorite Intamins. A surprising entry into my top 5 is Laugh Track. This is a cloned ride, and in fact I've ridden an exact clone of it at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk in Undertow. Mars spinners are, as a general rule, more intense than all other spinners, including Mach Extreme spinners. The theming adds a lot to this ride. It makes it more fun and enjoyable. The spinning is abundant, but not enough to make it nauseating, and all in all, this is an above-average family coaster. Number 4 is Great Bear. This ride is an absolute rush from start to finish. The only issue is that finish is a little bit close to the start. The helix off the lift hill is surprisingly intense, and the loop is super crunchy, and the same can also be said about the Immelman and 0G rolls. This ride is super intense, and it's my 5th favorite invert, but I will have to say the other invert in Pennsylvania, Talon, is just a little bit better. Still, definitely a standout ride at Hersheypark in the entire state of Pennsylvania. Number 3 is Storm Runner. This is an absolutely great ride, and it's the first ride on this list to crack my top 25, this one landing at number 21. I pulled this POV from Theme Park Review, and during the ride he yelled, "Horse on fire!" And that's a pretty good way to describe this ride. The launch is an absolute gut punch. 0 to 72 in 2 seconds is just a different feeling. It then flies up the top hat, which gives a great pop of airtime. But unlike Top Throw Dragster or King Dakar, Storm Runner has a few more tricks up its sleeve. The Cobra Loop is weird, but honestly, it doesn't do much of anything. The Flying Snake Dive, on the other hand, is super intense and whippy in the back row. It really feels like you're being flung around every which way and then diving down to the ground. It's super chaotic. The ride ends with a few low-to-the-ground snaps which really whip you out of your seat, and this is just a really great ride. Highly recommend it. The silver medal is being given to Candemonium. This is my 2nd favorite B&M Hyper. It's a little bit over Diamondback, but it's leagues behind Mako. This has some great elements, don't get me wrong. It's got the awesome first drop, the 5-second floater hill, the floaty speed hill, the twisted airtime hill, and of course the spectacle of diving around the Kisses fountain. But other than that, it's full of trimmed camelbacks and forgettable elements. The ride never really dies, but it never does too much to stand out besides those few great elements. This is my 2nd favorite coaster at the park, and it's my 19th overall coaster. What else can be number 1 other than Sky Rush? I had high expectations for this ride, and it managed to exceed them. Yes, the restraints are bad, but they don't completely ruin the ride. Same thing goes for the rattle. I can overlook these flaws because of how intense the ride is. It pulls bone-crushing positives in the turns and has downright painful ejector airtime that make it hard to walk after getting off. But face it, if you get off of an Intamin or a B&M invert and you can walk properly, it wasn't very good, was it? This ride also has the best first drop on any coaster, well besides Time Traveler. It actually gets steeper as it's going down, giving it sort of a double down effect. But this is no Jackrabbit. This is so good that it hurts. This is my 6th favorite coaster in the world, and you definitely have to make a trip out to Hershey, Pennsylvania just to ride this one roller coaster. If you're like airtime thrills and think that Sky Rush sucks, seriously, have you ridden it? In all seriousness though, besides for Laugh Track, this is about on par with most other Hersheypark rankings, but tell me what your hot takes are in the comments, because I would like to comment on them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.